going to say white people run the country, white people are bad. I'm half white, I can say this, okay? But we coexist, do we not? We coexist to a significant aspect that is noticeable and that we can function as a society. That's what needs to happen in Israel and Palestine. These two sides need to learn to forgive. They cannot forget, oh well, but forgive and coexist. And that's what I try to push for and a lot of other people are trying to push for. And that's why we brought this bill up. Don't go ahead.
I just thought it, going back to what you were saying, but some of the acronyms that you were using, I wasn't familiar with.
Which one was it?
It's like the AA.
The American Association of Palestinian Equal Rights.
Okay.
They're the kind of the Palestinian perspective, whereas AIPAC may be the Jewish perspective, Israeli state perspective.
Okay.
Right now, AAPER doesn't really know. They say they're standing strong on a two-state solution, but the lady that I worked with before, Heidi Schramm, said, Heidi Schramm said they're on a two-state solution. That's what they're pushing for. But the lady before her, Sarah Scruggs, said, well, we haven't made anything official. I'm not sure if they really know. I think from this bill, from my experience working with all these organizations, one thing I've learned is that the two-state or one-state solution is probably the biggest tribulation in getting a consensus. But this has to happen because our tax dollars are going over there. These people are killing each other. And it's making America look bad. We have to do something about this.
Could you elaborate a little bit on why you believe that a one-state solution is really the only viable solution?
Because the reason why I believe that a one-state solution is, well, I can't say viable. If a two-state solution works, I support it. As long as they don't kill each other and we can take the money we're spending over there and start spending it on education, give it back to Americans that probably need it more. The tuition is raising every, never mind, that's another field. That's putting a hole in my pocket. I wish that money would go to us Americans. And I wish people would stop saying we're bad people because of this issue. I just want it to stop. Most importantly, I love human beings, and innately I think everyone is good, which can be construed as impractical and naive, but that's my life, and I've lived it like that, and I enjoy it. The reason why I think the one-state solution is the best is because, as I told Professor Noam Chomsky, if you can guarantee me a near, not perfect, but near distribution of equitable resources on the parts of Palestinians and the Israelis, that's one thing I will say, that's one thing that may convince me it might work. The second thing is that Israel will not invade the sovereignty of Palestine or a Palestinian state if a few extremists start shooting bottle rockets over to the other side. That's not going to happen. Israel doesn't play. I wouldn't mess with Israel, but there are crazy people that decide they can mess with them. And they're going to shoot bottle rockets, and Israel's going to invade. It's the psychological aspect is what I think is the root problem. Like I said, from indoctrination, from the cradle to the grave, we need to place the human face on both sides for both people. What helped in the American history between blacks and whites is you had a religion, Christianity. You had a medium where people got together and were able to put a human face on each other. What exacerbates the issue over there is Islam and Judaism. Now, I go to B'nai Temple every Friday night. Then I go to Juma at the mosque at 12:30, and then Sunday I go to First Baptist Church. I try to learn all three religions because when I get over there, that's the doorway into the minds of these people. That's what exacerbates that issue, is the fact that you have two religions. But it's not impossible. But I don't think it addresses the psychological aspect. And if you put that wall there, I think it sets a precedent in the mind psychologically that we should be divided and this is the way it has to be. And I see it as a temporary solution, but I foresee some problems in the long run. Okay, next. Any other questions?
Christianity as a medium for bridging the gap between black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. Has gone as far far as it has. We could go further, it could always go further, but there's still a lot of tension there.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is, what you were saying, like two religions being is such a huge polarity,
Yeah.
and then the idea of like a one-state solution, then I imagine that there'd be a lot of things that needed to take place, I don't know, structurally. I'm trying to tease out what you're saying a little bit and understand it.
Are you trying to, like, say that because there's two different religions?
Yeah, I mean like a one-state, and then two religion,
solution.
one-state solution, two religions, polar religions,
Yeah.
versus this one-state solution where we had two races and one religion. It's,
Okay,
I don't know how much better we can get, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
My wife gave a lecture. She was a professor at Clemson University. When she gave a lecture at the university, she had her hijab on, and she's a Syrian Palestinian refugee. She could not travel to Egypt. She could not travel to Jordan. She could never go back to her home. Now, what was very inspirational to the students at Clemson University is when she stood there at the podium and she said, if we can have some sort of equitable resources, equitable rights, land for everyone, then yes, I think and believe in peace between us both in one second. I think religion does have a influence in it, but primarily what the problem is the lack of recognition of the rights of Palestinians on the Israeli side and the Palestinian extremists shooting these rockets. And like, there's a book called Targeted Civilians by Alexander Downs, and in that he said modern wars, 60% of the casualties are civilians, which, and it's a statistical analysis, and what that means is you can have a few people that are drunk and rowdy, and it's the innocent people in between during the wartime that get hurt. And that's what's happening over there, is you're having innocent people getting hurt in a conflict where a few bad people are just, going at each other. Religion's very important, yeah. But it's not the main issue. The crux of the issue is the recognition of rights by one single government, whether it be a binational, single, whatever you want to talk about, for as long as both people can have a certain standard of life. Most importantly, without occupation, because in this country's history, we didn't tolerate occupation. To live under occupation, military rule, is something you have to experience. Because you never know when your rights will be violated, can be violated. Every human being across this world wants what? We want normalcy. We want to have a family. Some of us want to have a big car, a nice house. Whatever we want, there are people in China, there are people in Japan, there are people in the Middle East and Africa, and we have similarities. We need to reach those similarities in this issue and stop focusing on the differences, unfortunately, because the differences is what's exacerbating such a mess over there. But I think religion is an issue, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it will present a problem. But primarily, I think the crux is the recognition of rights on both sides, and being able to place a human face on the side, by both sides.
I was wondering if this has been compared to the Balkans in the 90s, when Yugoslavia and the Muslims and the Christians, how they had, now that's a multi-state solution.
Do you know about that?
The Balkan?
Yeah. Okay, well, Professor Chomsky brought that up, and pretty much, I don't know much about that, but when he brought it up, I didn't have a response because I didn't know anything about it. But Dave could comment on that. Well, what was the situation over there?
You had penitent nationalism, and under Tito, the communist ruler, that nationalism was quashed. So Yugoslavia, they had all these different national groups could live as one socialist state. However, when you took away that harsh rule, the nationalisms came back. And a big part of the nationalism were these historical grievances against the other side. And that's tied in directly to demonization and dehumanization of the other. And I'll give you a personal story about this. Back when the genocide was happening during the 90s, a friend of mine in high school was the son of the Serbian consulate representative in Cleveland, Ohio. And so, I asked him about it. He said, well, the Muslims had all these knives and they killed children. back in, 500 years ago. So it's this idea of demonization and the historical grievance that